Hello and welcome to the Dreaming and Doing podcast with me, Nicky Raby. I'm an actor, coach, writer, speaker, podcaster and a mum. And in my coaching work, I work with creatives, personal brands, freelancers and small businesses. In my podcast, I talk about success, but not in a traditional sense. I have conversations with those who have built a business from something they love or who have made a pivot in their career. Also those who have built a brand or a job that maybe didn't exist when they were at school, and they found a way to monetize their skills, talents and expertise. I've spoken to loads of incredible people, coaches, designers, journalists, app creators, magazine editors, bloggers, content creators, authors, and all-round movers and shakers. I ask the questions that you want to know the answer to. So how they started, about money, saying no, saying yes, pitching, presenting, putting yourself out there even though it terrifies you, standing out in a busy online world, growing, scaling and making your work for you and your circumstances. The show notes are always at nickyraby.com/podcast and the conversation continues across social media, often on Instagram, my favourite platform, at Nicky Raby. Thanks so much for listening. It's great to have you with us. In today's episode, I'm talking to Claire, who is the founder of Hooray. If you come across her Instagram account, if you know, you know. Oh my goodness, she's saved my bacon so many times. She offers the most wonderful play prompts and play ideas for those long days playing with a toddler at home. I really love it because actually what she does is never this perfect thing. It's pulling together things that we have already. And I, for one, have never looked like the woman in the John Lewis catalogue playing beautifully with her child on the floor. It's always a bit crazy and messy, but that's kind of the way that we like it, you know? So I think that you'll really enjoy this conversation with Claire. If you want to join in the conversation, please, as always, come over to Instagram at Nicky Raby, and the show notes will be at nickyraby.com/podcast. If you're really enjoying these conversations and you want to help us get to 1 million plays by the end of the year, I would love that. Please rate and review and subscribe, leave a comment, share with a friend. I love getting all of your messages. So thank you so much for sharing and enjoying the episodes. And also feel free to go back on some of the previous ones. It's really nice when I go in and look at my stats to see that all of them are rising together. And that's very much the way that I like to see business. You know, you bring people up with you, you collaborate and you do all the good things. Anyway, enough from me today. Here's the episode with Claire. Enjoy. Claire, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, hi. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You have saved many a long, long day with my child at home. So I'm such a huge fan and it makes me sound like a real geek saying that, but I really am. I genuinely love what you do. So if people are not familiar, would you mind just sharing a little bit about your business?
Certainly, yeah. Do you know what? It's so funny. This is always the question that stumps me the most. What do I do? So before I had my little boy, I was an early years teacher. And since having him, he's now 3.5, I didn't return to teaching and actually sort of by accident created a small business through Instagram and Facebook mainly. And I share lots of play, well, hopefully realistic play activities that parents and carers can do at home with their babies and children. So through that, I do lots of activities and I do live videos and things. I also help with giving lots of advice to when I get a lot of questions from people asking for support, which is understanding because it is really tough. It can be tricky. And then the other part of it is I have play prompts, which are my activity cards that I created about over 18 months ago now, which started off with one pack and has now grown to, I think I've got about over 20 in the range. Wow. So that I sell those alongside on my website. So yeah.
Amazing. And how did it start to become a business, as it were?
Well, my little boy, was probably about 18 months or so. And I'd already decided not to go back to teaching. It was more circumstances. There was just no part-time wasn't an option, basically, and I didn't feel ready to go back to the role being full-time. I was in middle management at that point, so it was long hours and tricky around the family, and while my little boy was so young, so thought that I would be taking a break from it just for a little time. And I started sharing play activities, just things that I was doing with my little boy at home, sharing those through social media, more just for keeping me busy and entertaining him, because I soon realised that as lovely as it is to be at home with your baby, it's a really long day.
It's like the toughest job and the toughest audience in the world. Like, sometimes you can have those moments like, I've given you everything. I've cooked you this delicious meal. I've done all of this.
What more do you want from me?
Yeah, why are you being a scumbag? Like, we've done so well. We've got this far. Or sometimes you have that moment of going, we've done this and it's still only 5 to 10 in the morning.
Yeah, you can do a lot before lunchtime, can't you? And on no sleep as well. It's really tough. It can be a long day, and I think unless you've done it yourself, you just can't appreciate what it's like to be at home for a full day with young children. It can be really tough. Yeah. So I was finding this out, and I was missing. I was also missing my job as well, all my passion for play, and it sort of got reignited really when I was starting to set up more and more activities with my little boy, just to keep him stimulated and me stimulated as well, really. So started sharing them through Instagram and Facebook and things. And I mean, they weren't huge in any point, but at that point, I was starting to think of sharing some sort of sensory baskets or treasure baskets. I wanted to start selling something just a little bit on the side, not a big job or anything like that, just to bring a little bit of money in, something to keep my mind going, to keep me ticking. And while I spent a good few months, probably about 6 months, researching, putting baskets together, ideas for baskets and little kits and things that for parents to buy to sort of entertain their babies. It was whilst I was doing that, I was researching getting insurance for it. And of course, because it was babies and using household items, they weren't too keen.
Oh, yes. And of course, babies, like, however much you try to prove, like, baby-proof everything, like, they find the charger or the scissors or whatever. It's like they're on a mission with it.
Everything's a hazard with a baby, isn't it? So it was proving pretty tough, and I was feeling a little bit beaten. So while I was still doing that, I created the activity cards on a bit of a whim. I remember saying to my husband, I might just make a pack of cards and just see what people think, and didn't think it through at all. The name Play Prompts was just, I was actually in the activity boxes, was writing some prompts for the parents to support them playing with their children. So I sort of took the name from what I'd been creating for the activity boxes and thought, well, I'll try and just sell some activity cards while I'm sorting out the boxes. And I'm so pleased I did, really, because I didn't pursue the boxes in the end, and it's actually the cards that took off. So
the thing that I love about it is that you just make it so easy, because I think certainly the books that I read as a kid, I read a lot of Enid Blyton, and it was all about, how social services didn't knock on Aunt Fanny and Uncle Quentin's door, letting these kids disappear for, a week on Kieran Island, and, it wasn't necessarily the reality now. And, we live in London where, there's so much to do, but that thought of sometimes taking a kid on a tube, in a buggy, missing a nap time, and just sort of the ordeal of all that. I know I was looking for that thing of, how can I just do something for half an hour whilst I kind of run my business at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's it. And that's sort of, I soon realised when sharing the pictures of the activities and things that I was doing, it was the ones that people could copy straight away without needing to buy anything or to go out shopping. It's things that they had to hand at home, as we always say about give the baby the pots and pans or a cardboard box. It's always those things that entertains them the most. And I soon realised when I had my little boy that toys are really expensive, actually. And more often than not, you can buy these toys, or you can be bought toys as well, which I found, well-meaning family members and friends were buying these toys with great big plastic monstrosities that actually serve very little purpose when you looked at them, and took up a lot of the lounge.
And they make so much noise. My in-laws bought this beautiful set of emergency vehicles, which now live on the top of the fridge. I think Oscar's fortunately forgotten about them, but they had the sirens of proper emergency vehicles, and I was like, I don't need this at 5 o'clock in the morning. So.
It's just the last thing you want to listen to, isn't it? The lights and the tunes normally that they play.
Exactly. And how is social media, because it's just rocketed, sort of your audience and that consistency. How have you used social media to grow it and share what you do?
So social media is really my main way of communicating with parents, really. So I do, like I said, I post activities that I'm doing. I'm really keen not to post things for the sake of it. So I do only post what I am doing with my little boy. I just feel it's genuine, and it's the kind of things that I am actually doing at home. And it's always those that the simpler ones, and like I say, using things that you have around the house already. They're the ones that people can copy straight away. And I was really keen there are lots of sites and pages on social media and things where you can get lots of activity ideas from, and they're brilliant for inspiration. But even I, as a early years specialist, can find them daunting when they have, sometimes they just look so beautiful and so Pinterest worthy. But in reality, play's not like that, and often the most effective type of play, like I said, it isn't photogenic and it doesn't look beautiful, but it will entertain your little one, and the skills that they're developing, it's just totally worth it. And I was so keen to make my activities, because it was what I was doing at home anyway, just to share with parents and carers that you don't need, well, I hope the message gets across that you don't need a house full of expensive toys, and actually you can support your baby's development just with a little bit of understanding the theory behind play, and that you can literally set up activities with very little. We've all seen a little one with a washing up bowl and some water and a sponge, and it's it can keep them entertained for ages without needing to spend any money. I feel that I'm really keen to get that across, and so social media has been really great for me for that. Particularly now with all the video, like the stories and things, because I'm able to share the whole behind the scenes. It's not just the glossy pictures making activities look pretty. It's also I try and use that to show realistically this is what I'm doing, and I try to show that some days I'm actually too tired to play and I'm really bothered, just I may be an earlier specialist, but my child still may watch a bit of TV or iPad as well. I need to use screen time as well. It's just I try and keep it as realistic as possible, and social media has been great for helping me spread that message and my passion for play. And I recently started doing, the beginning of this year, I now go live every weekday rather.
Gosh, that's such a commitment, and brilliant that you do it. But also it's great because I bet it's helped you grow, because, I know that I tune in if I'm around, not if I'm with a coaching client, like, sorry, I just need to see what Claire's playing with. Like, I have to, there are some days that I can't, but that's brilliant as well. And it gives people a focus to the day, especially in those early months where, the schedule's all over the shop. You don't know whether your baby's, awake or asleep. You don't know if you're awake or asleep. And it's really nice to have that consistency. How did that switch go from you sort of being a teacher and an expert in a sort of in a closed space, as it were, to actually going live on Instagram to the internet world?
Well, do you know what? It's crazy because if someone had said to me a year ago that I would be talking into my camera in my kitchen to lots of people tuning in to listen to what I have to say, I just wouldn't believe it, because I've sort of developed, and my one thing, particularly last year when I transitioned from play Hooray being just a bit of a hobby and something to do while my little boy was small, to him starting having a little bit of childcare and thinking, right, you know, if I want to make this work, I've got to get serious now, and it is work. And it was very much about pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. And I literally I was like the yes man. I just said yes to every opportunity that came to me. And like I say, and with the stories coming, I just built up over time the whole, you know, I took through activities, but not have the camera on me, just the activities. So it's like my voice. And then I started doing a little bit more turning around and talking into the camera. And I just had to build it up. I knew that was the way that social media was going, that videos are popular. And of course it helps, doesn't it, to see the face who's behind it.
Yes.
And sort of built it up that way. But I still, it's that whole thing. I think people are sometimes surprised that I'm not actually the most confident person. You know, to stand in a room with strangers, but oh my goodness, that would floor me. And I did a workshop not so long ago with a room full of dads. Gosh, I was petrified beforehand, you know.
Did you go back to that kind of like, oh my goodness, it's like, you know, are they going to fancy me? Oh no, I'm on display. It's that weird thing of sort of, you go back to that school days version of yourself, don't you? Of like putting your hand up and going, hope I get the right answer.
Yeah, it felt like an interview or something where you or Ofsted would come, and it felt like that sort of moment. But yeah, so I've just had to push myself out of my comfort zone, really. And I'm so glad I have, because, I'm now, and even committing to going live every day, I did think, I sort of told my followers that I was going to do it before I was sort of ready to, because then I had to commit to that and push myself again out of my comfort zone. And even every day, it's almost, my lives now have almost become like my homework. The night before, I have a quick panic of, oh my goodness, what am I going to do tomorrow? It's like my homework. What am I actually going to do tomorrow? And then it's busy in the mornings, because by the time I've dropped my little boy off preschool, come back, and then I get ready for the live straight away. I always have that flutter of nerves just beforehand, thinking, oh my goodness, this isn't good enough. Everyone's going to say it's rubbish and blah, blah, blah. And I have that moment, and then I just have to go for it. And I'm so pleased I do, because it's worth it when I get the messages from people afterwards in my inbox, or I get fan mail photos. I ask people to send in photos of the play that they're doing with children, and it sounds so cheesy, but it just makes it so worthwhile, because by doing that, to hear that I've supported someone who was maybe having a day when they just didn't know what to do with the children at their wit's end, or had given up, or I get lots of messages from maybe if parents are pregnant or ill, even thinking, what am I going to do with my child today that's at home? And just to hear that I've helped somebody really does make it worthwhile. So I've committed to going live, and it really has been the best thing I could have done, really. And now I love it, and I actually miss it when I don't do it, which is crazy.
Well, your community are so engaged and really want to share. And I think in the beginning of sort of going live and things like that, you might have you have a few lurkers who kind of pop up to say hello, but they're not sort of commenting. And then after a while, that consistency just builds and builds. And I was going to ask, how do you sort of keep it fresh, and how do you keep sort of yourself topped up creatively with ideas? Because some of the things that you come up with, I just think, that of course that would be something that you would do with it. But sometimes I don't always have the headspace to look at an object in that way.
Yeah. It's a tricky one to answer, because there's quite a few things. So some of the activities I pull from the days of teaching and doing things with early years, and things that I've tried with my little boy and that have worked and things like that. And I do actually take time to think of activities well, because it is now part of my, the days when I was teaching, oh my goodness, the activities were nowhere near as creative as these, just because when you are in the classroom, it's not just about being with the children. Sadly, there's so many other things you have to do, and the paperwork and all sorts of other things take up your time, and actually the creating of the activities. So I now have a little bit more headspace to come up with the things. And also I theme my days just to help people know the days that they want to tune in. So like Baby Play Monday, that really helps me focus for the activities, and what have I covered, what else would, and also I try to answer a lot of the questions that I receive. So I often get asked about particularly the Baby Play Monday, which is my most popular day, because it is hard to entertain your baby sometimes. I had a lot of messages from parents asking about when's the best time to start reading, or best time to start doing activities and things like that. And so, I try to answer people's queries, because quite often one person might think is a silly question. I've actually been asked hundreds of times before. So I try and do my videos to answer people's questions as well. It's sort of a little bit of everything, really. And like I said, sometimes I feel like, because I go live every day, I feel like, oh gosh, I've got to make this a really wowy one, when actually the wowy ones are never actually the wow ones. It's always the simple ones that I think, oh gosh, I think people are going to think this one's a bit rubbish. They're normally the best ones, actually, because they are the simpler ones, and there may be things that I've done before, or maybe things that people have around the house, but actually they're the ones that people are able to copy, don't feel any pressure. And it's funny the way it works out, actually.
And it's great, actually, that sense of immediate feedback and being able. I mean, I remember when Oscar started sort of crawling about 8 months, and people were like, "Oh, you're gonna have your work cut out now," and I was like, "No, actually, it's brilliant, because he can just like please himself and go where he wants to do, and I don't have to do this sort of carrying." I mean, he was nearly 10 pounds when he was born, so it was a big old chunk of it was like a sack.
Mine was too.
Yeah, and so I never had that kind of like dinky little sort of dots, that was, I don't know, I'm carrying him. I couldn't even get him in a carrier because it was crazy. What's really helped you go pro in terms of your business journey and sort of become an entrepreneur, as opposed to somebody who's just been employed, not just been employed, but was employed?
Gosh, I don't know. Do you know, even now when I meet people and they say, "Oh, hi," that you've never met before, and they say, "What do you do?" I still find that really hard to answer, because it was so much easier to say teacher.
Yes.
These days, I still, I can't use the entrepreneur. I find that really hard to say, because
I find it hard to spell.
Yeah, that's
the amount of times where I'm like, R-E-E-R, where am I going?
But I think it's just because, you see the entrepreneurs that go on Dragon's Den, and I know everyone says they're winging it, but you think deep down they know what they're doing. They've obviously been born with a business brain and things like that.
Or a rich uncle somewhere.
Yeah, sadly I don't have one of those. But, that's why I find it hard, just because some of it has happened on like the play prompts, the actual start in the play prompts. I didn't think it through. I just thought, right, I'll make a pack of 100 activity cards and I'll see if anyone wants any, and if they do, that's great, and if they don't, I'd not lost anything. There was no risk. I just went for it. Now when I launch a new product, oh my goodness, I can't sleep and I panic and I think, oh, this is going to be rubbish, everyone's going to hate, I have all that self-doubt, because you have these high expectations of yourself, I guess. But I think it's just been a lot of, I do work hard, I work really hard, and I do, I'm still reading up, I'm still learning a lot. I buy a lot of books, email marketing. What's that all about? I'm having to read up on that, and okay, oh right, I really should maybe look at doing something with my mailing list. And it's those sorts of things that I feel I am winging it. I'm learning on the job basically, but it's been, and a lot of it has been gut instincts and making decisions where I've just had to go with my gut really. But I love it. I really love it. And I'm so passionate about play and getting the message of getting the word out there about more helping parents and carers and educators to play with babies and children. Like I said, that it's sort of, I live and breathe play now. It's and so the business side of it, I've just got to learn while I'm on the job, and I'm reading out what I can, and I read blogs, and I learn from other people on social media. Now I find myself, I don't follow the fashion ones or the lovely travel ones or the makeup ones. I follow the inspiring mums running businesses. They're the ones that fit me now. So,
and it's funny, once you start to open your mind up to those sort of things or move into that next phase, that's when you meet the people that you're supposed to meet, and you end up in the rooms you're supposed to. And I was going to say, now that you've created this sort of brand new chapter, what have you gained personally from it? Because I know you sort of left your job with a heavy heart. What have been the real great positives that have come from it?
Since doing it, I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and I was saying that I loved my job before. I really did, with all my heart, but I feel like I found what I was meant to do, which sounds very funny, but I feel like I was always meant to do this, and that I thought I'm in a place where I'm sort of meant to be. I don't know. I just, like I said, I'm probably not the most confident person, but it's given me perhaps a little bit of self-belief. The whole becoming a mum is the hardest thing I've ever done. But launching Play Hooray and doing what I'm doing has been the bravest thing I've ever done, I think. And it's that sort of self-confidence and, just starting to believe in myself that, maybe I can do this. Yeah. Maybe I could. And
to do that brave thing alongside doing the hardest thing simultaneously is enormous. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think I couldn't believe how much I could do on no sleep when I became a mum. I couldn't believe that I could still function as a person on 0 sleep, which who knew until you've had a baby? You just completely underestimated. And I've always been a hard worker. I always have, but it's a different type of work when, like on a Sunday night, being my business now through social media, it can be round the clock that I am working, whether it's answering a message to a parent or sending an email or whatever. But I don't get the Sunday night blues. I can't wait for Monday. And it's not about, my little boy going to preschool, but I get a day to work on something that I'm so passionate about. And and I've never had that Sunday night blues, and it sounds so cheesy, doesn't it? Working on holiday when we're on holiday, it's a different type of work. It's it's really funny.
And it just really incorporates into your life as well, that I feel this a bit sometimes, that I don't have that sense of complete switch off, and actually out of all the pieces of the pie, the self-care and the sort of me time is very limited after everything else has happened. I put Oscar to bed tonight, and then I clean the kitchen, and then you do various bits and bobs, and then by the time it gets to bedtime, all I want to do is crash. But it gives me that sense of being able to keep things sort of flowing in my life, rather than just have that cut-off point of now I'm working or now I'm being a mum.
Yeah. It's I must admit, I find that tricky too. I certainly find the self-care hard, and I find it really hard to ask for help as well.
Yes.
I find that bit really tricky. We don't have family live nearby. And I'm very keen for people to, I'm fine, I'm coping. I can do all of this completely on my own. I'm absolutely fine. And I can't. And I'm very lucky that my husband is very supportive and has always, been really hands-on with everything, whether it's me talking about Play Hooray and bouncing ideas off him, or helping me out with sharing the childcare and the house and things. So, but yeah, I think it can be tricky. But like you said, I like to sort of keep the ball rolling rather than stop it. I don't think I'd be very good if I just suddenly stopped to try and start again. It can be that can be tough, really, can't it? But it's nice to have a break sometimes, little holidays. And I don't do a lot. I don't do the videos at the weekend. I purposely don't do that just to give myself a break. And I put the phone down and I don't put makeup on because of the weekday lives. I've always got makeup.
Yeah, you feel like, oh my goodness, I've got to wear something that's clean and that's ironed and sorted.
I mean, it's gone downhill. There are some mornings when I have wet hair when I'm doing my live play demonstrations. I think people have got used to it. But that's just the reality that, and I'll say, I've not had a chance to dry my hair this morning. It's just been crazy trying to get out the door. And or I'll be doing a live and the doorbell will go and the dog will start barking. It's just reality. And I think I always get lovely messages from people saying that they appreciate that almost, because if it was too polished, I don't think it would seem as genuine.
Yeah. I had a pigeon come down the fireplace the other day as I was doing a podcast, and I was like, oh my goodness, there is a pigeon stuck in the chimney breast, and it just like flapped around. It didn't come out, and it was absolutely fine. But I was just like, oh, this is real life, and you could try and be glamorous as you like. I've got one more question for you, which is, where would you like to be in 5 years' time?
Gosh, that's hard. Do you know what? Since starting this, I shouldn't admit this, should I? I've never had a proper business plan. I'm literally going with the flow and see where. I
don't think many people do, though. I don't think you're on your own there. I think everybody's going, it'll be fine.
Everything you read, the business plan's the most important thing. And I don't even have one. That's terrible, isn't it? But it's because I find that because things have popped up that I never could have expected. I had not so long ago, a few months ago now, I did some work with Lego. I did a couple of videos on their YouTube. There's no way I could have guessed that Lego would have ever got in touch. It's things like that pop up. And like doing a podcast, this is my first ever podcast. Who knew I'd be on a podcast? My goodness. And I just love that things are happening out of my control. And that's just so exciting. And I feel it's since deciding that I'm going to jump out my comfort zone that more opportunities have sort of arisen, really. I think my main aim at the end of the day is just to get more babies and young children playing, and supporting and inspiring and giving parents, carers, educators the confidence as well, and the support and a little bit of the theory, support them to play, because I think it's so important. I'm so passionate about it that it's more about getting the message out there. I mean, if I'd love play prompts to become a household name, if that happens, that's a dream come true. But it's more about getting, as cheesy as it sounds, it is just, I'm so passionate about play. I'm so keen to just hearing more families are playing is just wonderful. And that really, at the end of the day, is the aim for me. So I will be singing it from the rooftop, or at least from Instagram anyway.
No, that's so good. And I think also like the fact that you've got this really clear mission, and you're coupled. I mean, I would do this with my coaching clients, that really clear mission, but coupled with that consistency and showing up and having a really clear message. The world is truly your oyster, because it could go in so many different ways. And I think that sense of, like you said earlier, of just saying yes and being open to ideas, and that's when the magic really happens. Yeah,
I think so. And it's also it's learning the new skills along the way as well, like doing the lives and There's things that I've building, even when I first started building a website, and I'm now trying very hard. It's a very slow process, but currently in the process of building an app to go with the play prompts so that parents have play literally at their fingertips. I'm building an app. Who me? I'm kind of wishing I'd stuck to those IT lessons in school now, but it's that sort of thing that you just don't know what's around the corner. It's just really exciting. And yeah, it's just about getting the word out really about play and in as many ways as I can. So
definitely. Yeah. How exciting. And if people want to come and find out more, where should they go?
So I am on Instagram at play.hooray, and I'm Play Hooray on Facebook as well, and we have a closed community page. And then my website is www.playhooray.co.uk.
Amazing. Oh, Claire, thank you so much for saving my bacon so many times.
You're more than welcome. No, it's lovely. And it's so funny when I hear that people actually watch my lives, because I see the numbers, but it's lovely to put a face to the name, particularly when I get to meet people and say, I watched so-and-so the other day. And it's nice to know it's not just my mum that's watching.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it great? Yeah, we have those sort of members of our family, or I know that Matt sometimes lurks on my Instagram stories, and it's a funny thing, but thank you. And we're always doing stuff with putting like ice cubes and making things and all the rest of it. Basically, the messier the better. Well, that's Oscar's philosophy, less so mine, but I love it. And he's only going to be young once, so let's have some fun in the meantime.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely. And like you're saying, your little one's 3 now, and my little boy's similar. It's that lovely age where everything is just so exciting and everything's a possibility. And so it's lovely to enjoy it and make memories with them, really, isn't it? So.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. No, thank you. My first podcast.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear what you thought of the episode and share any takeaways with me. Come and find me across social media at Nicky Raby, or you can visit the podcast page, nickyraby.com/podcast.